Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. What was the last topic we have discussed in our previous class? Did we complete the last problem? That is the first example. Did we complete it in our previous class?
Yes, sir. Second example.
Okay, second example also we have solved. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So today we'll start with the third example then. And okay, so a retired person wants to invest to an amount of is 30,000. 30,000 on his broker consultant suggests that recommends investing in two bonds. Bond A is 7%, and bond B is 7%. After some consideration, says to invest. We decide. All right, so it is very much common scenario wherein a person who is having a certain savings amount, okay, that person now wants to invest that money, okay, and now this retired person wants to actually wants to be very much safe, so that is the reason he is choosing a very safe investment. Is it right? Bonds are usually such an instrument wherein you get a assured amount after a particular amount of duration, correct? So that is the reason. Now, if you have to see, two different bonds are being selected, that is bond A and bond B. Now, this investor has to decide what is the total amount that this investor is going to invest in each of the bond, correct? Now, they have given us the total returns from each of the investments. So first investment gives 7% interest, and second investment gives 10% interest. Okay, and the total amount what he has got is 30,000 rupees. And also there is another constraint saying that this person wants to invest only 12,000 rupees in bond B. Okay, at most 12,000 rupees. That means maximum to maximum 12,000. Yeah, at most means 12,000 maximum. Correct? All right. So is it done? Have you made note of this? Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is it done?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will go to the next screen then. And at least rupees 6,000 in bond A. Okay, this is a normal scenario wherein a retired person thinks of investing 6,000 in one type of investment and maximum of 12,000 in another investment, correct? So in the bond A, that person is thinking of investing at least 6,000. That means what minimum 6,000 he wants to invest in the bond A, while maximum is 12,000 rupees in bond B. Why? Because possibly there is a high risk in bond B. That is the reason this person may not want to, or may not be willing to invest in the second type of the investment. Okay. Next. Uh, he wants the amount to be invested, amount invested be at least equal to, is equal to the amount invested in bond B. Okay. Formulate the LP. Okay. So usually in operation research, you will be finding lengthy questions, correct? Because all are related to the management decision problems, correct? So these decision problems definitely it will not be in short form, correct? A lot of descriptions will be given, which may have to become converted into some mathematical problems. Okay, is it done? Are you done with the noting down the question?
Yes, sir.
Go to the solution part. X1 is equal to total amount invested in X2 is equal to total amount invested in given that So it is given that a total of 30,000 is invested in the total bonds. Maybe it is bond A or bond B. Total investment or the total savings that this person has it itself is 30,000 rupees, correct? So what would be the first equation according to you? X1 is the total amount invested in bond A. X2 is the total amount invested in bond B. So according to you, what should be the first equation? Is any guess? X1 is the total amount invested in bond A and X2 is the total amount invested in bond B, correct? The total amount this person has itself is 30,000 rupees. What would be the equation here? The first equation can be x1 plus x2 smaller than or equal to 30,000 rupees. This happens to be the first equation. Correct. Shall I go for the next screen then? It is given that 7% yield is obtained from bond A and 10% yield obtained from bond B. Therefore, total profit or returns can be written as equal to z is equal to 0.07x1 plus 0.10. Correct? Everyone agrees to this equation? Yes, is there any doubts or something?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, once this is obtained, next is it is given that is given that at most rupees 12,000, most rupees 12,000 is invested in bond B. So can anyone tell what will be the equation for this? At most 12,000. That means maximum itself is 12,000 in bond B. The equation here. Okay, so the maximum investment in bond B itself is 12,000 rupees, and the total investment in bond B is represented as X2, correct? So how can we write this? Is it right? X2 is smaller than or equal to 12,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why? Because X2 represents the amount invested in bond B. Correct. That is the reason this statement can be written. Similarly, in bond A, at least 6,000 rupees has to be invested. So what would be the equation here? Anyone?
X1 is greater than or equal to 6,000.
Correct. X1 is greater than or equal to 6,000 rupees. So we can call this as second equation. We can call this as the equation 3. Why? Because at least means what? We have this as least value. Right? Least means what? Least value itself is 6,000 rupees. That means what? X1 can be equal to 6,000 and above than 6,000 also. Okay, shall I go to the next screen?
Yes, sir.
So next statement is amount invested in bond A must be at least equal to the amount invested in bond B. So any idea as to how we can represent this equation, this statement in the form of equation? Is it right? X1, can it be greater than or equal to X2?
Yes, sir.
Or X1 minus X2 greater than or equal to 0?
Sir, it is greater or less, sir? X1 is greater, like
It has to be greater than or equal to.
first equation.
Yes. Yes, X1 minus X2 would be greater than or equal to 0. Yes, that's right. Why? Because here X1 X1 is at least whatever amount you have invested in one day. Let us assume that it is 10,000 rupees. Correct? So amount invested in bond A must be at least equal to the amount invested in bond B. Let us assume bond B is somewhere around again 10,000 itself. Correct? So bond A. So this total amount invested in bond A must be at least equal to the amount invested in bond B, that is 10,000. Right? So even if this increases to 12,000 rupees, that is fine. Why? Because in that case, what would happen? 12,000 is the amount that is invested in bond A, which is equal to at least equal. At least means what? It has to be at least equal to means what? Minimum. That is a minimum criteria. It is the minimum criteria. Okay, so that investor has to see that at least he has a amount which crosses the total value that he has got in bond B, or the total amount he has invested in bond B. Correct? So that is basically the meaning. How it is. Okay, so hope I have cleared this doubt. Yes, is there any doubts here?
No, sir.
Okay, so going ahead, therefore, LPP is as follows. LPP is as follows, correct? maximize profit or returns, z is equal to 0.07x1 plus 0.10x2. Okay, so what is the constraint here? Subject to what is the first constraint?
X2 is lesser than or equal to 12,000.
Yes, that's before that the first constraint was x1 plus x2 should be lesser than or equal to 30,000 rupees. Is it right? This was the first constraint. Similarly, what is the next constraint you said just now? X2 should be what is the next constraint after this? X1 is
Greater than or equal to 6,000.
x1 is greater than or equal to 1,000. That's right. And after that, the next constraint is x1 minus x2. Okay. So one last constraint should be x1 and x2 should be greater than or equal to 0. Is it right? That means what? The total amount invested in bond A, the total amount invested in bond B must not be in negative values, and it will not be in negatives always. Either it can be 0 or it can be greater than 0. So that is the reason this last equation. Okay, shall we go for the next example? Is there any doubts here?
No, sir. You can go forward.
Write the next question. Okay, shall I go for the next screen? Is it done? Have you made note of this?
Yes, sir.
Going for the next screen then. Okay, is it done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So any guess here? What would be x1 and x2? Okay, so this firm is basically manufacturing two different products. Okay, and what they are telling is these two products consumes the same raw material, two raw materials. Okay, so raw material one and raw material two, and each of the product A, each of the product A requires 3 kgs of raw material, and each of product B requires 4 kgs of raw material of type 1. Okay. Similarly, this is also the same thing. Each of the product A requires 5 kgs of raw material 2, and each of the product B requires 3 kgs of raw material 2. Okay. Now, what it is given is that the company manufactures a total of 3,000 units, total put together. Okay, it is product A and product B put together, it is 3,000 products they manufacture. And what they are saying is that the minimum demand in the market for two products are 600 and 650. Correct? So let us consider these two products are two mobile products, two handsets. Possibly it may be Oppo and Vivo itself. Correct? So the minimum demand in the market for Oppo is 600 units. Minimum. It may be more than that also. And for Vivo, it is 650. Is it fine? So considering this, we have to now formulate the LP. So what can be x1 and x2 here? Any idea? Okay, x1 is nothing but it is the total number of product A manufactured, and x2 is the total number of product B manufactured. Okay. Now it is given that each product A consumes kgs of raw material 1. So how many kgs of raw material 1 is required in order to manufacture product A? So how many? Yes, much?
3.
3 kgs, that's right. That is from table. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, x1 product A requires 3x1 kgs of raw material 1. Similarly, product B requires how many kgs of raw material? One product B. Raw material 1,
4.
4 kgs. That's right. So that is the reason 4x2 kgs of raw material is required for product B. Shall I go to the next screen?
Yes, sir.
So how much should this be? 3x1 plus 4x2 must be less than or equal to how much? Is the total available raw material? 1.
$5,000.
Correct. 5,000. So it should be lesser than or equal to 5,000 rupees. Any doubts here until this? Until this, any doubts?
No, sir.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll continue in next class. Now tomorrow we will have one extra class for C section. Okay. There will be a combined class for both B as well as C section. All right. Now this problem, whatever I have solved, we will solve it in our regular class. We'll continue this problem in our regular class. we have our next regular class on Wednesday for C-section. Is it right? So Wednesday's class, I will continue this problem. So just remind me about it. Okay. Somewhere you just make a note of this. Now tomorrow we'll start with the next topic, that is graphical representation. That is nothing but we have to determine what is the value of x1 and x2. Is it right? Now, if we have formulated LPP, we have to determine what is the value of x1 and x2. So in tomorrow's class, we will discuss that. Okay, so we'll start with that particular topic in the next class. That is tomorrow, 9 o'clock, we'll have an extra class for C section, which will be combined with B section also. So B section also will be attending at 9 o'clock. Okay, and we'll be starting with a new topic. This problem will continue it in the next regular class, which will be held on Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Okay. All right. Is it clear?
It's true.
Class here. Class here. Class here. All right. So in case if the class here is not there, just someone I think can put a message in the WhatsApp group saying that tomorrow 9 o'clock there will be a special class on OR 9 to 10 o'clock, 1 hour class. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Fine. Thank you. Class is done.
Thank you.